everyone, and welcome back to the Milkway for Youth podcast. My name is Warindi, a co-host and producer of this podcast. So this is season 2 of this podcast where we are telling impact stories of the Milkway program. And as a reminder, the Milkway program seeks to break barriers in access to SRHR by applying an intersectional lens. In previous episodes of season 2, we have talked to young people from Kenya, from Zambia, from Uganda, from Ethiopia, and from Rwanda, where they've shared with us what Milkway has been to them. And so now it's our turn. We are part of the Regional and Global Youth Panel of Milkway, and this is going to be our last episode of season 2. And we are happy to share what our experience has been these last 3 years in the Milkway program. So I mentioned I'm a co-host, which means I have two very amazing colleagues that I work with on this podcast. Their names are Bertha and Vilda, so I'll just call on them to just say hi, and then we can, share our stories. Bertha?
Hi, everyone. Happy to have you tuned in again. Please do stay tuned and do share the podcast with your friends.
Thank you, Bertha. Vilda?
Hi, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us always. And I look forward to just sharing on this last episode that we're having. Thank you.
All right. So in our previous episodes of season 2, we've talked to young people about their experiences in Milkway. We've asked them what kind of growth they've had personally or professionally. We've asked them how they've benefited from mentorship and how they are paying that forward. And we've also asked them what has been the impact of Milkway in their communities. And we've had very enriching, diverse stories covering areas like understanding, disability justice, for instance, for most of us, or, changing the lives of some young people in, speaking to them about the importance of understanding SRHR. So for us here now, I want us to discuss what meaningful youth engagement has been to us as a context and as a panel, and how that has looked like in the last 3 years. So I don't know, I can start with you, Bertha. So what has this been for you?
Well, I'm reflecting of how the journey has been from inception, right? Since we began this regional and global youth panel, because we joined in a moving vehicle. There were youth panels that existed at country level, and it was at a point where there was an introduction of youth panels to exist at a regional and global level. So for me, just the start of that event presented intentionality of the program to say at every level we're going to have the voices of young people, and not just having the voices of young people, but making them occupy spaces that when they speak, they're actually heard, and what they say can be translated into actions, So that experience for me was life-changing. I saw the intentionality, and just the fact that I was free to talk about certain things, and then certain things would come to effect, and I was free to speak my mind, to contribute effectively, and to also be treated as an equal, which was very, very important. But more so, I think we are going to delve in deeper into this, is how we worked with people that we worked with on the program that were helping us technically, with technical things, but also just to ensure that our programming ran smoothly. So it was a point of gaining so much skills through intergenerational work culture, or shadowing each other in order to learn from the other person. Yeah.
Before Vilda jumps in, I just want to echo what you've said. The intentionality part of this, the establishment of this panel was what caught me, because I've been in very many programs where youth are just engaged as tokens, we have 2 young people in the room, blah, 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 but you're not really part of decision making, or you're not even clear on what you're supposed to do as, in a youth advisory role like this one. So I remember at the start, as you mentioned, we joined when it was a moving vehicle. Was the intentionality even in training us? Because I remember we did a couple of training sessions with Miria and Lisa at the very beginning on helping us understand, this multi-country program. And this is the first multi-country program I've worked in, hopefully to many more in the future. But yeah, just the patience and the intentionality in helping us understand what this role was for us, and what was expected for us, and what we should expect from the program was also really, really profound. Vilda, I don't know if you have any reflections around that.
Yeah, and I think we are in the same books when you just say the intentionality, because as much as you see, for me, I was already in the Kenyan context, but this was totally a very new context, the regional and global. But you see, when you are being trained, there was not, can I say, seclusion to say that, oh, Vilda have been in the program for like a year and knows a few things. So maybe we are going to do this with Warindi and Bertha. But there was that intentionality and just co-creation to ensure that all of us we got to understand our role. And also I remember Mary and Lisa coming back every now and then, like, is there anything that you really need to, you still feel that you really don't understand, is there any place that you still need support from us? And also just being open to tell us, you see, as much as maybe you say you've already understood how the program works and all that, we are free and you're going to come back to us anytime that you want in case of anything. And for sure, I also feel that this was a youth program for the youth. And I can see that our voice have been listened to, and looking forward to just to talk about this in our later discussion. Thank you, Arindi.
Bertha, before you jump in, just talking about this being actually a youth program for youth. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
very many programs that are for youth but don't actually have youth, in the design
Yes.
process or in the implementation process. I usually share this story where, like, I was in a space that was meant for young feminists, and I know maybe all of us have gone through this. But the minute you enter that space already, you feel like people feel like you're competing with them because you're young. I don't know if you felt this in other spaces where people are reluctant. Yes, they need you there because they're programming for you, but they still feel like you're taking that space for them. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, Vilda, you've mentioned something really important that even as youth we have to be really keen on, the importance of intergenerational conversations. As we've seen here in Kenya, obviously with the protest and everything, the thing we must encourage mostly as young people as well, even as we advocate for seats at the table and representation and meaningful inclusion, it's also being ready and willing to learn. You've mentioned, Bertha, that we had technical youth support people, and I've really learned a lot from them because it has to be a two-way street, a way of respect. Of you're learning from me and I'm also learning from you. Bertha, go ahead.
Yeah, that's very true. And now my mind was swayed into thinking into those spaces we found ourselves in, and then the person who occupies the space feels like you are on to get their space and not
Mm,
really understand intergenerational dialogue. You can share what you have and still remain with what you have, and that's something that we really got to experience so much in the Make Way program. We got to learn skills from people. We tapped into people's work literally. I mean, look at us. We can now manage websites. Who thought that
right?
we who thought that we would, but we were given an opportunity to learn from someone and someone to teach us. That's like, embracing intergenerational dialogue. It doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter what the person is doing. It's really just been a point of redefining meaningful youth engagement. Like, look, you're a young person, you're supposed to do this. You're not able to, I'll hold your hand until you
Mm.
are able to, and then you will do it, you know? So yeah, it's been a game changer. When I wanted to catch you, that remember how we had to go back and forth with the results framework? Like, what is this complicated document?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Why are we reporting this? What is this indicator? What is M&D? And people were so patient to talk to us about what M&D is, what an output is, an outcome, an indicator, this results framework, the log framework. How do you work around it, and how do you report what you've done? So that was really like, it's left us not the same way as we came in. We've learned quite a lot of things in the process, and we still keep going. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think I actually, you know how I used to describe myself as a digital advocacy, whatever person.
Yeah.
Now I just think I'm an overall person. I think because
Yeah.
you've done MAL, you understand like some basics around MAL, you understand
Mhm.
comms, you understand programs, you
Right.
understand, not for myself, obviously, by managing the grant, you understand grant management, and
Yes, very important.
you end up being this overall development professional in a way. So really, really
Mhm.
also amazing in terms of like career and professional development, and the fact that technical people really were there, and they gave us opportunities to join them in their work, and they didn't feel
Mhm.
like we were slowing them down. And I think maybe other youth development programs that are coming up around there really need to relook at youth engagement in the style that you have to give space for young people to learn, because I
Mhm.
think most of us learn by apprenticeship, where you learn by seeing and doing more than by reading. But Vilda, anything from
Exactly.
you?
Yes, I think something that came to my mind this time is also an aspect of, you see, as young people, we always say that we talk of meaningful youth engagement and we say, you see, we are going to occupy these tables. But then there's always this thought of young people are not accountable at all. You give them spaces and then they are not really accountable. So, another thing that I want to say is as we talk about meaningful youth engagement within the program and the people that we've really worked with, there has been that impact of just being implanted that us as the youth panel, we've also been accountable and knowing our role and knowing exactly what is expected from us. Yes, and I feel maybe somebody might say that, you see, this is our program and maybe we are just talking to bring the good things, but I just want to tell our audience that this is real and we're not just talking of maybe propaganda from somewhere. But yeah, I feel that we've been given opportunities. We've also been using, talking from a point of, you've been also responsible to do your part as a young person, and going back to the flow of participation. You see, what is your role as a young person, being accountable, and even as you see, when you talk about managing grants and all that, we know what the parts that you are playing. We know even doing the webinars as the youth panel, things that you are not doing, but also after being capacity built, then we know that we are able to do this and we've been accountable to do them. And also, I feel we've been trusted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Vilda, on actually like, even as young people, we lobby for spaces, we lobby for resources, we lobby for opportunities. At the very end, even ourselves, we need to also realize that we have responsibilities. And you mentioned one that's very key, which is accountability. We
Mhm.
must be accountable, because we are coming into a space where young people already, we know in our African context, you're looked down upon when you're young because they think you're inexperienced. And you must be accountable to, if you're given an opportunity, make the most out of it, is what I'd say, and also like be very, very accountable. I wanted to talk about resourcing youth movements or resourcing young people. So, Bertha, I think, and also Vida, I think um, you've done grant applications here and there, or you've asked for resources here and there. So, I just wanted to pivot into what resourcing means in ensuring meaningful youth engagement, because we know one of the biggest challenges that young people have is that you have so many people with so many startups, so many ideas, so many social impact ideas, but they can't get resourcing for. So I don't know if there's anything you can say around that, Bertha.
Well, I think it stems back to the realities we've been talking about, right? It's not so easy as a young person to easily get resources. There are all these structured RFPs, this required experience. You need to have a certain amount of money that you have handled before, for you to be able to get resources to fund your activities. And it's been one of the hardest thing as a young person with a vision for social impact to really have to walk into. It's been rough even for young movements that we know of, young people, to just find a space in this philanthropic world to share their social impact work and see how and just with more support, how that social impact work would change lives of people. It's a few funders that get to trust young people, and build their capacity in the process and get them to do the work and maximize, or rather yield desirable results in their social impact activities. So um, it also comes back to what we were talking about, Vilda. We have to be accountable. We have to show for it that we can actually do the work. We have to do our end of the line so that another person can better trust the end of the line. Even the other person will also have to rethink young people and their work. Young people are experts in their own right, and we need to remove all these artificial barriers like experience, certain bank accounts, that young people need to have. If there's this thing that Jennifer talked to us about, where funding is done through a trusted institution, for example, so philanthropic mechanisms could explore that to just make sure that there is no gap between social impact that young people can implement and funding mechanisms out there. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I think I just want to echo on this aspect of can we come from a point of trusting young people, because young people do have like very good ideas that, if implemented, of course, we are looking forward to achieving and just breaking the barriers that exist. For example, as we talk about the sexual reproductive health and rights, I know of very good minds out here, but because of lack of resources, they're not able to just create impact to young people that they're really targeting. And also the aspect of, you say you have this knowledge and everything, but then you don't have the required document. For example, you're not like a very big organization, and you're just taking it from a step. For example, let me use an example of the community-based organizations like the safe spaces that have now turned into community-based organizations. They're just starting small. So it means with that good idea of bringing an aspect of such safe spaces might not get opportunities to be supported because you are still young, you are starting small, and nobody trusts the process that you're having. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that I'll get from Makeway around resourcing is that they trusted us with small grants and they trusted
Okay.
so many other like young people all over like the 5 countries to lead
Yeah.
projects. And these are young people we used to meet in conferences mostly, or in in other activities in wherever we live, and just seeing maybe the impact of we've talked to many of these collaborating partners who are young people. We've talked to Black Coffee Network, we've talked to Nexus Youth Initiative in Uganda, just like really, really trusting young people and giving them the funds to do their work. And also even us as a youth panel here, like being funded to run the podcast. The first podcast for Mekwe was also like a really, really big thing in resourcing. And I think this should encourage other organizations or consortiums to trust young people, because young people, we are
Yeah,
hungry. We are hungry for
exactly.
opportunities. We're hungry for creating impact. Yes, Bertha.
Yeah.
I was also going to add, like, all the youth groups we got to interact with, Black Coffee Network, Nexus, we were part and parcel of reviewing what our friends can do and
Yeah.
adding a voice to
Yeah.
say these
Yeah.
groups, let's give them the resources because they can definitely make an impact on the ground. So another thing that we can, philanthropists could learn from the initiative that Makeway took. If you do not trust young people, bring fellow young people to decide for other young people, and they will give you the best. Because look at the results we got from Black Coffee Network. Very inspiring results, like you see the work on the ground and you're just amazed. You're seeing the impact, you're seeing lives being changed and social issues being addressed. So that was transformative.
Yeah, I agree. Vilda?
Yes, I just wanted to add, as Bertha talked about, maybe bringing young people to be part of those decisions. And within the program, we have also been having like a double count when it comes to a voice. for example, when it comes to voting. So most of the time, the times that we voted, we've always gone with what did the youth say about this? How is the youth feeling about this decision that we are making? And I feel that in almost all the decisions that we had to make, like now deciding on who is who or what should be done, where we voted was what was now being taken as the final decision, which I feel was a very good thing, because you see it's a program for the young people, and the young people really had a voice to say, this is what you see, what this is what we feel as young people, and this is the way that you're going to take. And we've been really supported.
Yeah, I agree. And as we close, because that time has come, I just wanted us to go around. I'm saying going around, and we are three on the call. We just wanted to go around and just maybe share with us, like we mentioned earlier, that there are technical persons in the Mikwe team who really helped us with our work. So maybe shout out people who you've seen hold the hands of young people throughout the program and just give them their flowers. Bertha.
Okay. Shout out to Julia. Ish, hats off to you, girl. Flowers. Sending flowers your way. Lisa, I'm not going to mention all of them so that I can leave some for you guys. Miria,
Yeah.
we see you. We love you so much. And Jennifer. Jennifer has been a very
Yeah.
pivotal person in this. So I'm not going to mention everybody so that you can send your shout out as well. But thank you so much for changing us, for changing. I mean, our brains will never regain their original dimensions because of you people. And Suresh, we see you, but definitely we'll mention you.
Vilda.
Okay, I feel the list is so long that I don't know who we should give a shout to. So yeah, I can also say Shrushti. Shout out to
Yeah.
Shrushti wherever you are. You are so supportive, and also Daphne. So just echoing on what but I'd say, Miria, you are so supportive as our RGCG coordinator, and it was really nice. And Jennifer too, thank you.
Yeah, I want to shout out Coms, Rona, and Caroline, who are really,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
really helpful in Caroline in setting up the podcast. Rona in actually running the podcast towards the end of the program. She was really supportful, really gave us feedback to improve this particular comms piece that we have here. And also to Miria as well, and Lisa, because they're the ones we engaged with first, for trusting us actually even through the interview process, that we were going to excel in this. But generally, I just want to thank everyone from the Milky program who has held our hands, who has held the hands of young people in the program, or young people everywhere in the context that they work in. They may not know this, but they really give us hope, and they empower us to continue doing our work. And they also provide you know how you, when you're younger, used to be like, I want to be Wangari Maathai because she has a Nobel Peace Prize and she's Nene, the person you used to look up to. So I'd like to say there's people in Mekwe that I find myself, I want my career to be modeled like this person's career, for instance. And that's a very good thing. Yeah, I mentioned earlier, this is going to be the last episode of season 2. So first and foremost, I want to thank you two for being amazing co-hosts, and for taking this podcast to where it is now. Having over 100,000 listens on the second season is not a joke. It's really a testament of good work. Uh, really a testament of the good work that we've done and that we will continue to do. And to our audience, thank you so much for journeying with us from last year to this year. And we hope to have a season 3 next year. So we look forward to also, engaging with you then. And, please remember to like, share, subscribe to our podcast. Please remember you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify as Mikwe for Youth Podcast. Thank you, everyone, and see you in season 3. Kwaherini.